One of the ways to do Christmas cards and make a lot of them is to use stamps for your background drawing. It saves a lot of time, and you can use waterproof black ink. And this stamp is by Penny Black, Wintry Trails, and I'm putting it on a stamping platform so I can center it on my hot pressed watercolor paper and get it in position, and then it's going to take several layers to get the fine detail on this stamp. I'm using Ranger Archival black ink, and I'm patting the ink generously onto the stamp, and I have to put a lot of ink on there. This is an extremely detailed stamp, and you will see after the first printing it won't all come out. I'm going to have to do at least 3 printings with the stamp to get all the details on there. I tried different inks, and of course some of the inks are not waterproof, so they're not going to be any good to do watercolor over. So this is my first printing. I'm going to push hard on the stamp, and I have it on the rubber stamp side of the platform. So that's the correct side. I'm giving it good pressure, and then I'm going to check to see how the image came out. And you can see in the middle of the stamp, the image has not transferred properly. So I have to ink it up, putting a lot of ink in the center again. Now, if you are not using a stamp platform, if you're using some other form of stamping device, you are not going to be able to print a second time. It will print in a wrong place, giving you a very fuzzy offset print. So this is the advantage of having a stamp platform. You can center your stamp properly before you start, and then you can restamp until you get a good crisp image for which you can use for your cards. Once you get a lot of ink on the stamp, it prints better and better with each time. So this is the 3rd printing, and now it looks acceptable for what I want to do. And I'm going to show you a different type of stamping device. I've just made my own acrylic block, but this is based on the Fiskars one that has the sponge corners, and then you press down to press it onto your paper. It's not as accurate as the stamping platform, and you will see when I'm finished that I don't get a clean, crisp print, even though I have conditioned the stamp. There are still places on there where the detail is missing, and I can't print a second time, so I will use my black pen. Here are the colors I'm going to use. I want to try and get the color to look like wild honey in the Ranger Distress ink. So I've tried new Gamboge, Azo Yellow with transparent orange, and I also want to have some nice blues for this card. So I'm trying cerulean blue, phthalo blue, cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, and I think I'm going to go with phthalo blue and ultramarine. So for the first part of the stamp, I want to wet the sky. And I got the color idea from the Penny Black YouTube video, watching their video of how to use inks for this, but I'm using watercolor. So I've got my Azo Yellow mixed with a little bit of permanent rose to make a, actually no, I'm sorry, I think I may have used Gamboge with permanent rose to make an orangey yellow. I'm going to put that in the sky, and then on dry paper I'm going to put a little bit on the right hand side and a little bit more on the pathway. And like I said, I'm following the directions that I saw on the Penny Black YouTube video for color choices. And I will add the link to that video in my directions below my YouTube video. The difference with mine is we're using watercolor and not inks. The person that did the one for Penny Black used different inks for stamping the background and for coloring in. So I'm using a little touch of rose to put a bit of warmth in that winter sunset, and drying that all before I put the blue. Because if I put the blue on now, I will get green where it touches the yellow. I'm going to wet the sky again so I get a very soft edge to my blue, and I'm going to use phthalo blue for the sky. See, I've just added a little bit, quite watery, not too strong, And I'm going to bring that in from the right hand corner over, leaving a little bit of white paper to be sort of cloud or just bright winter sky. And be careful, phthalo blue is an extremely strong colour. You don't want to use it too strong for this painting, or it will overwhelm the whole of the painting and not look delicate and snow-like. I'm going to use a little bit more of that phthalo blue, darker on the corners and in the trees. So take it a little bit at a time. See, I put some on and just decided I wanted to darken it up a little bit. That's way better than going too dark to start with and then having to try and wash it all back. I want to use a little bit of that phthalo blue to shade the snow. Not too much because I want quite a bit of the snow to be white, but I'm thinking under the trees on the path would be in shade. So I'm going to use a little bit of that phthalo to give that impression. Now, once you get the hang of doing the watercolor for these, you could print up several of them to start with and have them all on your table and do a little production line. So you could make several Christmas cards quite quickly that are hand painted and handmade, even though you're using this beautiful stamp for your background. Penny Black has a lot of other beautiful winter woods type stamps. I'm using ultramarine blue to put some color into the forest. On the YouTube video I watched, the person used a dark blue, purplish blue ink to stamp the image. I'm using ultramarine blue to paint some shading into those background trees. And I'm using that ultramarine blue to put some more shading in the snow. And I'm using a little bit of water on my brush to soften that color at the top of the wintry trees. And of course these trees are all bare, they have no leaves, it's winter. So you have just the branches. And if you want to color snow, two wonderful colors for that are the ultramarine blue and the phthalo blue. They just make beautiful shading for snow and make it look so cool and crisp, as long as you leave some white showing. And really this is quite a quick little card to make. If we're doing this for our weekly watercolor class, you can have a choice of many different stamps for backgrounds. You can make several. You could make 3 or 4 of your Christmas cards for your favorite people, or several of the same card, but you might want to use different colors in your background. You might want to use gray in your sky and some purple in the trees. That would give a very different look. So when it is perfectly dry, carefully peel off your masking tape, and I always hold it down because the corners tend to tear if you don't hold them. And I've left a 1/2 inch border around this piece of hot press 140-pound Arch paper. And I love to leave the decal edge on there too. I think that looks kind of interesting. Now you can put that just on a white card background, but I prefer to have some kind of a background. You could use black that goes right to the edge of the card, and I like to use a good tape, double-sided tape to mount that. A nice dry mounting tape is great. You could use navy blue, so I have a navy blue card. Or you could use a sparkly dark gray or sparkly black. All of those look beautiful for a Christmas card. And those types of backing cards can be bought all over the place. I have cut out a Let It Snow saying to put on the front, or you can use Merry Christmas stamps, or I have another one that says Joy that I can cut out. I think I have another one too that says something like Jingle Bells. So you can choose whether you leave the front completely plain or you can just stamp inside your card if you want to leave the front plain. Your friend might like to frame this card, so sometimes it's good to not put something on there. Oh, I also have one that says Merry Christmas. So if you're coming to my class, if you've signed up, I will bring the stamps and the sayings for you to use wherever you would like to use on your cards that you're going to make. I will bring cards that I buy from Michael's, and we will make Christmas cards. Thank you for watching.